What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well on this Friday, March 8th, 2024. I am Astro Lunachick, or you can call me Susan. And I just thought I'd pop on to check out what's going on today. What the hell is going on in the heavens? And what is up your anus? Thanks for joining me today. I was just looking at some asteroids and stars and thinking, wow, it's been a long time since I've just popped up unsolicited outside of my weekly astrology. And if you haven't been keeping up with that, shame on you. I'm on YouTube every week, generally speaking, on Sunday. Sometimes I'm a little late, but that's my prerogative. And I do a weekly forecast. So if you're interested in that, go over to YouTube, look for me, Astro Lunachick. Also check out my Rumble channel. And in the description box of my weekly videos, you'll find all the most important links, including my Gilded chat link, which is like a Discord channel. But Gilded, I like Gilded much more than Discord. Anyway, there's that. Let's see, I've got a Substack newsletter that I haven't been updating, but I will be soon, telling you all where to find me. Also, you know where I am on Twitter, talking shit. I always said I would have a I would have a podcast called Fecal Matters, where, we just talk shit. A little bathroom humor. Anyway, yeah, where else? Instagram, Facebook. You can buy me a coffee, a couple of coffees. I answer short questions. Those are really for like, those are for when I do readings through DMs, you'd be surprised how much information we can glean from just a couple of questions and taking a quick pickety pick. And where else? What else is going on? Yes, you can book my time or ask questions about booking time for a reading or even a little coaching session. Yes, I do that too. If you want to learn a little astrology, I do have some little hacks and tricks that I've learned over the years. Um, my years of teaching myself and being a non-traditional astrologer, which makes me, I guess, not the most technical astrologer, but maybe a more outside the box astrologer, because I did sort of learn in my own way. But if you would like me to guide you and teach you my ways, you can get in touch with me. You can send me an email at astrolunachick@gmail.com, or you can call or text the hotline at 914-222-1231. And I think that's it for our announcements for today. March 8th. Oh my God, I cannot believe the clocks are going forward this weekend. It's crazy. Crazy. I was just saying to somebody the other day that when I was young, my first sign of spring was when Dairy Queen opened. That's when they didn't have indoor seating. And now my first sign of spring is when I hear the peepers. And that's, no, usually mid March, second to third week, I want to say. Third week, maybe. But we are almost there. gaining on her. And what was my other sign of spring? Oh, maple syrup. The maple farms around my area open up and have maple sugar in time. And then there's St. Patrick's Day, and I am going to be making a nitrate-free. I don't know if it's organic, but it's, hormone-free, blah, 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 antibiotic, blah, blah, corned beef. And several years ago, my mom started making it, cooking the meat, potatoes, carrots, and cabbage in apple cider vinegar, not vinegar, sorry, apple cider, in apple cider. And it is absolutely delish. So that's my plan, either this weekend or next weekend, probably next weekend. But I got all my fixings already. I've never seen no nitrate, um, antibiotic and hormone-free corned beef. So I don't know, it wasn't cheap, but it's definitely worth it. I only eat it once a year, pretty much, because all my Reubens are usually turkey Reubens. So there you go. What interesting astrology do I have for you today, you ask? Well, I will share my screen and show you what I'm working with today. This astrology excites me. I feel like we're really on the verge of something here. Okay, so we have the moon in Aquarius. It is, as I'm recording this, 10 minutes to 1, 10 to 1, 12:50 on the East Coast. And it was almost 6 o'clock last night, and it was still semi-light out. And whew, I cannot tell you how that breathes life into me. I'm a total hermit after January. I mean, I want to be social because it's my 10th house, Capricorn, and, the birthday thing and everything. But God, my chart, I don't know. The universe decided it was just going to make it tough for me. So I like to hibernate, Capricorn. I come out a little bit in Aquarius, and then in Pisces, I'm just like, fucking don't bother me, people. You have no idea. And as it stands today, I'm all peppy and happy because the moon is in Aquarius at about 25 degrees. It's on my Mars. So, Mars is your energy, your vigor, your get up and go. So today, my getting up is going, and it's conjunct Venus. So that's fabulous. Venus, partnership, love, finances, creativity, artistic feeling, desire, the five senses, ruler of Taurus and Libra is on my Mars. That's like, you know, the chocolate being in my peanut butter. Venus made me say it. Anywho, so it's giving a boost today to our air signs and our fire signs, especially if you have those planets at the latter degrees, last 5 degrees of air or fire. I don't have a whole lot of fire in my chart, and the fire that I have is debilitated. So I'll take what I can get when it comes to a boost. So yeah, my fire planet Mars is in air, so the boost is mental. It's I get a boost, I guess, when I'm connecting, with my networks and my friends and doing my out of the box Aquarian type things and being rebellious and saucy. That definitely gets my boat floating. So that's what we got in terms of the moon Venus, very good for connecting again, social media. These Aquarius transits of Venus and Mars have been really good for crypto if you're keeping up with that, uh, because we're on our way to a basically, a new financial system and a digital-based currency. And so to figure out what's going on, I think that this is really indicative of what we can expect come May, as Venus has squared Uranus and sent things into a frenzy. Now Mars is squaring Uranus, both planets earlier or later in February, late in the month, squared Jupiter. So, increase and pushing things forward. So that's something to watch. And the reason I say May is because we will have transits over Jupiter and Uranus, and we're going to be having Jupiter conjunct Uranus, and Uranus and Aquarius deal with that's where we're getting our action in terms of technology, specifically digital currency. So generally speaking, we do see a correction around the eclipses, and that might be something to watch. Not might, it is something to watch. I have to look more deeply into it, but I know for a while there, because generally speaking, we have the high at the new moon, at or around the new moon, and then we have the low at the full moon. But then I was seeing that completely reversed with eclipses, and then I think last year it had flipped back to where it was the high uh, at the new moon and the low at the full moon again. I don't know. I have to go back. I kind of stopped watching it for a while. I was like looking at other things. But anyway, we do see corrections usually around the eclipses, and that'll be March 25th is the solar eclipse, and April 8th is I might have that backwards. Hold on. April 8th is the new moon. Okay, so the solar eclipse, new moon, is April 8th, but the full moon in Libra, lunar eclipse, is March 25th at 5 degrees of Libra. So things tend to go wonky. We always like to caution people not to make huge decisions unless, it's been in the works and it's just gonna happen. You gotta do something. Just to be cautious about the changes that we make during that time. But we're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about Venus and the moon in Aquarius at 25, 26 degrees. We have two stars that the moon and Venus will be passing over in the constellation of Cygnus that are Sador and Gyna. Gyna, it is at 27. So the moon will hit Gyna later on tonight, and Venus will hit Gyna in about a day or so. So, but basically, we can just look at what it'll be tomorrow. Venus will be on Gyna. If that's an important degree in your chart, then heads up that, Venus is an awesome energy. It's definitely bringing fortune and positivity, and it's usually a boost to relationships, and it can be financial and it could be artistic. So it really depends on your chart. Now, let's look at, let me see if I could share the screen. I want to go to constellation of words and talk about those stars. I want to talk about the constellation of Cygnus. So Cygnus is the swan. The swan is the okay, so the swan is Jupiter, aka Zeus, who took the form of a swan and seduced Leda. And here it is. I want to share the screen. I think this is it. I think it's sharing. Is it sharing? Yeah, looks like it's sharing. Okay, so Sedor in the constellation Cygnus, 24 to 24, rounded up to 25. Aquarius, and so here is Cygnus. These are the stars, Sedor and Gyna in the shoulder and the wing, or the back and the wing of the swan. So in Arabic, the name for it means the hen's breast. So let's see what else we can. Christian astrology, ancient Christians saw Cygnus as the cross of Calvary. Christy Crooks. What else here? That would be the stars Gyna, Sador, Deneb, Adige, and Albareo, making a cross. So the mythology of the constellation Cygnus. Cygnus, the swan, represents Jupiter's Zeus, who seduced Leda, queen of Sparta, in the form of a swan. The same night, Leda slept with her husband, Tyndareus, king of Sparta. In some versions, she laid 2 eggs that produced 4 offspring, one fathered by Zeus and producing Helen of Troy, and Polydeuces, or Pollux, one of the Gemini twins. From the other egg fathered Tyndareus, by Tyndareus was hatched the other Gemini twin, Castor and Clytemnestra. Okay, so what we have here is 2 versions of the myth, but she is producing twins, and not just twins, but we have a male and a female twin, one being God and one being human. in both circumstances. Doesn't that get confusing? But when we look at Castor and Pollux, the Gemini twins, it's the fact that one is God and the other is human. And in the symbolism of the swan, Jupiter turning himself into a swan comes again the idea of existing into forms. Like Zeus always has an animal form in the myths. In this case, it's the swan, but he does turn into many, he does turn into different animals in order to seduce, which is very interesting. But it speaks to me of the idea of God coming to Earth in human form, in something that's not human form, but like in a form that is relatable, or it has a symbolic meaning, right? And even the idea that there is something of God, let's say, hidden within us, a spark of divinity, perhaps. But it is very interesting when you look at uh, the mythologies and this theme interwoven between, you know, being part God, part human, even even with the stories of the centaurs and the battle between the gods and the giants. I mean, we see that even in scripture, so it's interesting. Anyway, so the constellation itself, Cygnus, gives a contemplative, dreamy, cultured, and adaptable nature. The affections are ill-regulated and unsteady. The talents develop late. There is some love of water and swimming and the arts. By the Kabbalists, it is associated with the Hebrew letter Resh and the 20th tarot trump card of judgment. So, what else can we say about Cygnus? You can go to Constellation of Words and you can read, just go to the star Sidor or the constellation Cygnus or the Gyna, the other star that I was talking about around this degree here. But I think one of the things that I've seen, because I have I have planets in the constellation, and I have friends and I talk to a lot of people that have planets in the constellation, and augury and birds is very significant. But anyway, I'll just read what it says here on Constellation of Words. In its own person, the swan hides God as being in the disguise of Jupiter and the voice belonging to it. It is more than a bird and mutters to itself within. I can say that that's true. There's something about the voice. It's weird. People often comment about my voice, and I don't know. I just think they're hearing something, a tone, something familiar maybe about it. But anyway, okay. And talking to yourself, I do that all the time and in my head. Fail not to mark the men who delight to feed the birds of Venus in pens on a rooftop. So pigeon carrier pigeon, people who raise birds, it's not really a thing so much anymore, I don't think. But I used to see long time ago. Hens on the roof in the city, people keeping birds, releasing them to their native skies or recalling them by special signs, or those who carry in cages throughout the city birds taught to obey words of command, men whose total wealth consists of a little sparrow for such performing birds. And that is a quote from Manilius from Astronomica, first century AD. I just think it's kind of interesting because I actually had a parakeet. His name was Woody, and I taught him to say ram. So there's your Aquarius right there. There's your Cygnus signifiers. So that's one thing that I thought was interesting for today. And let's take a look at the asteroids. We have Venus, again, Venus and the moon. Bernie, I don't really work with that one too much. You can look it up if you want to. I think it has something to do with the person who named Pluto or discovered Pluto. I forget. Okay. Apophis, which we know is the destroyer. It's the Egyptian adversary slash Satan. Apophis. It's also, known as like the theme. It's known for the theme of the destruction by asteroid hitting the Earth and, extinction level event, that kind of thing. But it is an adversary and a destroyer type energy. And Aphrodite and Circe at 29 Aquarius. Aphrodite is Venus, right? But it's I think it might be Greek. Let's look it up. Aphrodite, goddess of beauty, fertility, and sexual love. So she is variously described as the daughter of Zeus and Dion, or as being born from the sea, Roman. So she's the Roman equivalent of Venus. And it makes me think of the painting, I forgot who it's by, very famous, of Venus in the scallop shell with the scallop shell behind her. So in Greek, so she's the Roman equivalent, but this doesn't make sense. But in Greek, literally means foam born, aphros, foam born of the foam or the salty secretions. And the sea being like the primordial, uh, what do you call it? The amniotic fluid, that kind of thing. So Aphrodite, there's your Aphrodite. And Circe is the goddess that lured an enchantress who lived with her wild animals on the island of Aea. When Odysseus visited the island, his companions were changed into pigs by her potions. But he protected himself with the mythical herb moly, Moly, and forced her to restore his men into human form. So Circe is known for luring the sailors to their death, right? So it is sort of a beautiful seductress type energy. And behind her comes the Apophis, the destroyer. This is where Venus is headed. Okay, we can take this as political. We could take this as something coming in disguise as one thing that seems very appealing, tantalizing, but there is a destructive force behind it, potentially. Um, I mean, not to have that sound like really, oh, it sounds terrible, but in terms of destroying an illusion or exposing something to ourselves about ourselves or about another person. Um, it sounds like being lured into a trap, and love can do that to you. Well, I think it feels like this seems like the glamorous side of love, or even um, maybe that it could be a very transformative experience, but it's not what we expect. It's not all like destructive or evil, or it's just think about what the significance is of the constellation and those stars, the Cygnus, okay, the swan, and how Zeus appears to Leda in a form that is appealing to her, right? It is other than who he actually is. So it is something or someone disguised as something else. I mean, it could be Trojan horse type thing, or um, somebody infiltrating. Of course, my mind goes to like spy stuff. So this is like a honeypot. This is like a honeypot kind of thing where she is tantalizing and beautiful, and you think of her one way, or him. Um, and then next thing you know, you're on hidden camera and they're streaming it on X, and you said a bunch of stuff you should not have said, which will bring us to our next aspect. Let's go today. So that's the asteroid action that's going on. Let's go back to the chart and I'll show you. There is something going on here with Mercury and Neptune. Mercury is completely lost in the fog and the illusion and the glamour and the delusion of Neptune here. It's almost like that's a continuation of what's going on here with the moon and Circe and Aphrodite and Apophis, right? So there's again, like someone is just blinded by their projection. They're seeing what they want to see, basically. And at 27 degrees, that's almost to the last degrees of Pisces here. You know, Neptune will retrograde later in the year before it goes, it's not ready to go into Aries just yet. I believe Saturn and Neptune go into Aries together, but we're not done with this Piscean type illusion. And there's a lot to be uncovered here. People are either getting caught in the snags of the illusion, delusion, glamour spell that the world has been under, um, or just, lost in some kind of a codependent fantasy. So, what we have here in terms of asteroids, let me share that screen again. So, we have, like I said, Mercury and Neptune at 27 Pisces. And we've got some asteroids going on there too. So here we go. Is it sharing? Yeah, okay. So we've got, hold on, this is bugging me. I want it on the top. Get there. Oh, I don't know how to change it. I drag it? All right, never mind. At 26 Pisces, we have Hera. Hera is another name for Juno. So this is Hera, the wife of Zeus. So we have again the theme of Zeus slash Jupiter and his philanderings. And Hera is his wife, and Juno, again, the wife. They're just different names in Greek and Roman. So just know they're the same thing. And so in Hera, we have the themes of, the dutiful, faithful wife who has to put up with what the husband is doing extracurricularly, and even his illegitimate children. So interesting. This is the war of the king and the queen, right? And the king and his philanderings and the illegitimate children. Because, I mean, this was a thing. This has been a thing for centuries. And allegedly, I myself may even be an illegitimate or the descendant of an illegitimate child of some British royal. Not really sure who, but I don't even think that that's something to brag about, to be quite honest. But it's just interesting. So, Hera is the wife that has to watch all of this going on, and then instead of divorcing her husband, she takes revenge on his lovers, his paramours. So these are the themes that we see going on with Hera, as with Juno. And Juno is also doing something. We'll get to that in a minute. Juno's in Virgo. So here we have Hera caught in the fog of Neptune with Mercury, who is bringing a message that is trying to get through and maybe having to discern all these different messages. So interesting that we have this happening along with the story of Cygnus the swan and Jupiter and Leda. And then we have Hera here in the mix. We also have Juno is retrograde. So that means on some level in Virgo, I feel like it's going back over and internally processing the the guilt and the shame and the codependency and the idea of loyalty and fidelity in partnerships. And I know that a lot of people stay together with a partner who is not loyal and not faithful and feeling like they need to do their part. And if they as long as I can be that ideal partner, like maybe they will change their ways. It's sitting there waiting for somebody else to do right. while you are self-sacrificing for what? For the family, for public appearances, or for your own pride, because you don't want to admit that you put up with that all these years, or you want to uh, you don't want to admit to yourself that things are not as they appear. And anyway, so there's a lot going on with that. And Juno is, I think, oh wait, I can check that out here. 12 degrees of Virgo in retrograde. And she is opposing Icarus, Dejanira, and Requiem. Requiem is a funeral service, kind of like like a eulogy, or it's putting something to rest, mourning it, putting it to rest, burying it. Dejanira we talked about in other podcasts. So she's part of the group of asteroids that we talk about when we're looking at abuse. So there's the connection with her and Nessus, the Nessus shirt. It's basically the trap that you laid for your enemies becomes your own snare and downfall. And the sun is conjunct Nessus. Again, he takes revenge on Hercules, which is Decanira's husband, tells her that if you give him this potion, which is made of Nessus poison blood, because he's dying, he got hit with the spear, a poison spear. He's dying. So, like, that's bitterness and anger and revenge, and manipulation, and putting your crap on other people and poisoning a relationship. And so, all the themes of abuse like that. But Decanera goes back to her husband, uses this potion, and she was told that it would keep him from cheating. So again, we have the dynamic of um, the lack of fidelity and this sort of double standard. It's not a double standard anymore. So, I mean, you can flip these any way you like. We've got the cheating spouse, the disloyal spouse who goes running around trying to get attention from everybody. And then you've got the one that stays with them, and the whole poisoning that happens when you have a lack of self-esteem and you allow yourself to be treated that way. And Icarus is going too far. Icarus flew too close to the sun. So Icarus is getting burned somehow. I think Icarus, well, Saturn is coming to oppose Juno in retrograde in a matter of days. That'll be exact on the 10th. So tomorrow the moon will conjunct Saturn. That's consequences. That's hitting a restriction. That's that is, that's karma, that's consequences. The consequences for putting up with that kind of behavior. And it often affects people's health, having to repress because you're putting up with behavior that makes you angry. And so repressing that rage and having to put on a facade. That's that's Pisces. This is all this Mercury, Neptune, Pisces, the mask that you got to wear and the consequences and Saturn and the looking at long-standing commitments and all of that playing out in a lot of different ways. But, the shirt of Nessus here is the anger and revenge that gets suppressed, especially here in Pisces, is taking its toll, I think. And also the planning of revenge and the plotting for the downfall of one's enemy coming back around to bite in the ass. And what else do we have going on? Mars is squaring to Uranus. So Mars at this time is conjunct and has been. Well, Mars conjuncted Chariklo. Chariklo is the wife of Chiron. They're both centaurs. So the centaurs, again, being part beast and part human, it's the higher and lower nature of the human form. So it's dealing with our lower base nature and desires and overcoming that and rising above it. So Chariklo being the wife, again, the themes have to do with healing the masculine and feminine relationships, male and female, or masculine and feminine energy within us. And Chariklo is, and especially given the other themes that I just discussed, I'm going to say is dealing with codependence issues right off the rip, where, I've often talked to and have felt this way too, so I can understand it, but talk to women who are in relationships with men and feeling like, well, my love can heal him and I'm gonna hold space for him to change. But oftentimes that doesn't work. And I think where we're dealing with Mercury, Neptune is where you don't see that you're doing all the work and the other party is just not doing it, or we make up excuses for people and we give them a pass because, well, we understand, how they're struggling. And women are so intuitive. I'm saying women because it's my experience and having dealt with a lot of women, we can assess the other person and we know their psyche and we know their history and we know what they went through and this and that. And like because we love, we want to be there to support and to heal, but then we don't realize until we get a slap in the face that, holy crap, that person is completely unaware of their own psychological underpinnings and their own dysfunction, and they're not doing anything about it. But also because they continue in these patterns because we wipe their asses, right? Their mother wiped their ass, everyone around them, They could do no wrong. They're never held accountable. We all know someone like that. And they just rise up through the ranks and they do, perfectly well in life. Um, and then you have to look at the dynamic of the person who supports them, the person who's in relationship with them, and who absorbs all their karma, all their negative karma, and they end up sick. I mean, I've been there, I've seen it with other people. It's a thing. I feel like this is the kind of the dynamic that's playing out right now. And I did talk on went on Dave Cruz's show, Beyond the Strange. If you missed it, go check it out on his channel, Beyond the Strange. I talked a lot about what's going on with the royal family right now, which is a very interesting dynamic. And we forget that this is, you know, the monarchy in Europe and particularly in Britain, I mean, so ancient, right? And they used to fight wars and kill one another and put their kids in like their whatever, the competitors, their adversaries in the tower and lock them up and take over the kingdom. You know, they have fought wars within their own family for centuries, millennia, who knows how long. And, ancient blood feuds. And we're seeing it play out right now where they attack one another in the tabloids. They use the media to strike out at each other. And I think it's very interesting to watch. But I did talk about on Dave's show how this is sort of playing out in what's going on uh, between Charles and Camilla and William and Harry and Kate being missing. And now they're coming out with they're releasing statements from Kate, supposedly from Kate, but there's no real anything definitive. Like she hasn't been seen on camera. There was a paparazzi shot that was probably her sister who looks a lot like her. Anyway, a whole lot of drama going on, but I do see this is sort of the dynamic here going on that I've described and playing out with the planets and the asteroids. And Mars, Ophelia, Hermes. So Hermes is a psychopomp messenger between the worlds. Um, can definitely be a trickster. Like that would be, let's say, the media putting out a statement that is meant to distract and uh, is not accurate, right? And Ophelia is from Hamlet, and she represents female drama and drowning because Ophelia drowned herself. She killed herself. So, drowning your sorrows, drowning in emotion, she's the female in despair because she's losing her man or her position or whatever it is. So it is histrionics. Hermes, we don't know really whether this message is coming from her or if it's, an attack because we have Mars here. This is in Aquarius, and it is squaring Uranus, so it's very shocking, unusual, sudden things happening. It can be because it's Mars square Uranus. We have been seeing a lot of fuckery when it comes to the internet. A lot of different platforms being reporting outages. I had problems with my VPN last night. So there's something going on. right, with technology. But we're also looking at like sky phenomena, strange things of some kind of rocket or something in Russia. So Mars in Aquarius is high technology, weapons. Mars is weapons and war being fought through the use of technology, which includes hacking and cyber attacks. So definitely whatever was going on last night, uh, some cyber weirdness, attackiness. And I think that will continue over the next couple of days, possibly into tomorrow. And the 10th, which is the new moon. So what else do we have going on here in terms of asteroids that I wanted to mention? Yes, at the very end of Pisces here, where we're talking about Hera, Neptune. Just want to mention that the sun is at 18. Hang on. Yeah, today the 8th. Tomorrow it'll be at 19. That's the new moon. It passed Nessus and it will move forward towards Hygeia. This is health. I think we are going to be hearing or discussing things a lot regarding health and healing. Hygeia, we think of hygiene. So this is coming up, health, hygiene, and a wife and her health, potentially. And that's how I was kind of using Kate Middleton as a marker for that because it's been unclear and a big question around her health. I think there was something having to do with her health. The last time she was seen was the 28th of December. And I know that we had transits around 25 to 30 degrees of Sagittarius which would be square to 25 to 30 degrees of Pisces. So this is the next phase of whatever we were seeing back then. I remember looking at that chart and thinking, oh my God, this looks like so much poison and vitriol. Could it have been a poisoning? Could it have been an overdose? Could she have been in a coma? And I think that because we're having the transits here with Hera and Neptune, which Neptune obscures the details. Neptune creates a distraction and a fog, and Mercury is there. It can be that whatever the news that's coming out that's being released is not true. It's just a distraction, a delay, because people are clamoring for information. Venus here in Aquarius is a woman, okay, and the moon and Aquarius. Sorry, and the moon and Venus in Aquarius here. I'm just thinking about how it goes back to Cygnus and this whole theme of the wife and the wife of Jupiter and Jupiter Zeus, Hera Juno. And how does that relate to Kate? Because it's been rumored that William's been all over the place. William's had other lovers. Maybe she has too. I don't know, but it's also been rumored that she was pregnant. Maybe that's why she wasn't going to be seen for 9 months. Who knows? There's just so much going on. It's all a distraction to keep people away from the truth. They could be getting a divorce. She could have been in the hospital. She could have overdosed. He could have tried to poison her. She could be recovering, but it does look like if she's still alive that he wants a divorce. So doesn't that fit right in? And again, I know not everybody is interested in royal drama. I'm not either. To be honest with you, the only reason why I started looking at this is because there was so much going on with the transits that looked really crazy and kind of sketchy, that it caught my eye because I look at the transits and then I look to see what's going on with people, and there was just so much scandal and craze that I knew like there had to be more to the story. And then you get into the Diana, you know, themes of what happened with Diana and the reputation that these men have in their family. But my point is, it's not about the royals. It's about an archetype and how this relates to the greater collective and the transformation that relationships are going through right now. Because some people are in a situation where they're stuck and they're making excuses for a shitty spouse, and they're starting to realize that they've been lied to, and also that they've been enabling, let's say, because there's a lot to do also with addictions and narcissistic behavior and the codependent relationship that forms around that dynamic. And at some point, you got to realize that it's not worth covering for. It's affecting your health, and not just your physical health, but your mental health too. So these things are coming to light. And of course, as always, it's not happening to everyone. But if you have planets or significant points in your chart around these degrees, like the last degrees of Pisces or um, Aquarius or even Sagittarius, Gemini, and Virgo, um, there is a chance to see through the fog. But Neptune is in a fog right now. I can attest to it. I mean, it's very creative, but it's like the clouds are just swirling around, and you try to grasp at an idea, and it just slips through your fingers. It's really hard to make anything to like have a concrete thought, but it's really great, if you're highly creative and imaginative and you want to go in a very spiritual, metaphysical direction. Let's look at the stars that might be, if there's anything directly connected to. I know that there is. And I know that there's also um, around 24, 25 degrees, one of the Sabian symbols that I'm very familiar with since my Chiron is on it. The purging of the priesthood, which is an interesting one. So there is this idea of spiritual hierarchies, connections, religious structures, and government, but not government, leadership and governance in terms of the very ancient structures, in terms of kings and monarchs, right? Because kings and queens consider themselves to be spiritual leaders also. But I mean, on the external, for the external view, the exoteric view, um, the Church of England is Episcopal, right? Or in other countries, the kings and queens are leaders of the Catholic Church, or so on down the line. But they do have their personal spiritual beliefs that the average person is not privy to. But if you've researched and studied, you know that there is so much more, and the kings and the king and queen being, like, let's say, the head of the Church of England, that's all for show. That's just for the people. There's other stuff going on. But interesting at the degrees that Mercury and Neptune are at 27 of Pisces. It's somewhere around here. This column over here is where the stars have progressed to. It's only about a degree difference, but this is like, I forget what year, but this is the year 2000, because we have precession and the alignments move. So the stars are lining up with this zodiacal degree. Saddlebari and Matar, those are both in constellation Pegasus. And Pegasus is known for, it's the winged horse. And again, this idea of winged birds, flight, messengers, and the theme of Pegasus is, just in a nutshell, Pegasus syndrome is the ability to fly over any situation, but also it can be lessons in humility and being taken down a peg. So let's read about Perseus and Bellerophon. The Pegasus syndrome, as exemplified in the legends of Perseus and Bellerophon, is concerned with the innate ability possessed by some people to negotiate difficulties by rising above them on the one hand, and the danger of overreaching themselves on the other. Pegasus by birth is the child of Medusa and Neptune, symbols of wisdom and emotion, respectively, which shows the dichotomy of his nature. As in the story, Bellerophon attempted to fly to Mount Olympus, overreach his potential. He believed that Pegasus was subject to his will. However, it was Pegasus who made it to Olympus, while Bellerophon was tossed back to earth, lame and reproached by others. It is unwise to take any situation for granted, as the lesser person, or in this case, beast, may be the one to teach us the much needed lesson in humility. Pegasus is also indicative of a specific mission in life in which the inquirer will always find the time and the energy to pursue, although the path may be sown with difficulties, the chimera, and limitations, Bellerophon's doubt or arrogance. So The Pegasus syndrome is the seeming ability to fly over any situation, though the reverse may be a lesson in humility, being taken down a peg. So, again, it's kind of similar to the story of Nessus and Deianira and Hercules, in that the plans aren't quite, not everything's going to plan. Some thoughts for revenge are blowing it up in other people in their face, and people who, like the underdog who you didn't think was going to prevail, is flying over the situation while the proud and the arrogant person is being taken down a peg. Sort of interesting. I can think of a few situations where this is playing out, personal and collective. Very interesting. I like it. So, what else do we have going on here? When we get to 28 degrees, Mercury will get there first. Azazel Phage. No idea. That's Cygnus again. So, gods in disguise. Talking birds, talking heads. It just speaks to me that not everything that you hear is as it is literally. Some things are just being done for optics. 29 degrees, Shayat, that's Pegasus. I want to call it Shiat. Shiat. It's kind of a difficult star. Again, it's in Pegasus. What can we say about this? There is an element of danger, possibly pertaining to water, danger to mankind from the element of water. Relates to the feet. Footstool. Let me see. There was something I had read. Well, the star Shiat, according to Ptolemy, is the nature of Mars and Mercury. According to Simonite of Saturn. So Mars, Mercury, Saturn type energy. Neptune in square to Saturn or Mars, being an energy. So anyway, it causes extreme misfortune, murder, suicide, and drowning. Hmm. So have we not seen the last of that sort of assassination, murdering, suiciding type energy? Interesting. What else can we say? With the sun, it causes water danger through water and engines, liability to accidents or drowning. With the moon, which it won't be until the 11th, a day to watch. Worry, loss, and gain of friends through criticism, danger of accidents, and by water. Again, with Mercury, many accidents and narrow escapes, especially by water. many enemies, trouble through writings, bad health, and domestic affairs. So some crazy energy coming up over the next couple of days while we have Mercury passing over the 29th degree, and people will be saying, shit. That's wonderful. That's my ascendant. I'm going to stay off the road that day. With Mars, many accidents. I'll tell you what, though, when my progressed Mars went over my ascendant, which was like 28, 29, 28 degrees, because the progressed Mars is slow and it's there, I had like, no lie, I had like 5 car accidents in the span of a year and a half. Crazy. So if this is making aspects in your chart and just in general, just be aware out there. And so just with the other aspects and the other things that I listed, there is a lot of themes repeating and interweaving. Okay, so with Venus here at this degree, evil environment, suffering through own acts. That's sort of a Nessus thing. Danger of imprisonment or restraint. With Mars, many accidents, sickness to native and relatives. That's what happened with me. I had Lyme disease. I had accidents. It was not a happy time. With Jupiter, many voyages, losses through law, friends, relatives, danger of imprisonment. Can we see people going to prison? Yes, I think we can. I think some kind of murder plot, assassination, deletion, um, whether it comes through or not, because depending on the individuals, remember we have this Pegasus energy where some people will sail over it and other people will get caught in the snare. But I think we're going to see a lot of legal cases, indictments, charges, because some sort of plot is uncovered. Ooh, that sounds so exciting. Okay, so Saturn here, danger of death in infancy, domestic trouble, colds, consumption, death by drowning, or accident. Uranus, deceitful, vacillating, little concentration, psychic, unreliable, involved in difficulties due to own acts, many accidents, death through drowning, or by water, especially if in the first, sixth, eighth, or 10th houses. With Neptune, so pay attention because Neptune is close to this degree, but Neptune is going to station pretty soon. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And I think it stations at 29 degrees. So this is something to pay attention to. And this is personal, it's collective, prominent in inventive, occult, or psychic matters, persecuted, peculiar domestic conditions, many accidents, danger of drowning. I'm going at the inventive, occult, and psychic matters because a lot of what I've been seeing over the past month or so with planets in Pisces is a lot of the psychic intuition and dreams coming to the forefront with people. And so when planets like Neptune, which move very slowly, when they go and station retrograde, that time period is very interesting. So take note of what's going on over the next couple of days for you, as Mercury will be at the 29th degree on the 9th of March, What are we hearing about? What messages are we getting? The moon is conjunct Saturn. So we're working through some karma and blockages and restrictions. A lot of it collectively is subconscious because that's Pisces. And so there are obstacles, restrictions, tasks that we're going through because there are things that are deeply buried in the collective psyche in Pisces. And that started with the Mercury Saturn Sun conjunction at 9 degrees of Pisces. So see what that brought up for you. See what kind of messages you've got going on. Be aware that there is a potential for people to be hoodwinked, blinded, scammed, catfished, and all those kind of things with Neptune conjunct to Mercury. And then all of these things that I had discussed at this degree of 29 degrees of Pisces. Let's watch out for these things, accidents, narrow escapes by water, interesting, enemies, trouble through writings, people getting in trouble because of the things that they've written. Uh, that means posting on social media, even. Um, what else? It's bad for health and domestic affairs. So let's keep those things in mind. And if that's like your rising or your descendant or midheaven or IC, those are the angles of your chart. Or if it's conjunct a planet at that degree, then you just want to be aware. Like, I'm not saying live in fear. I'm just saying take note, pay attention. If your gut says something is not good, or that if there's a red flag you're seeing, then stop, drop, and roll. Like, get the fuck out of there. Or, don't move forward with that person or that situation. If you're being given the 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 pause. Also, let's take into consideration that Uranus is square to Mars. This is sudden aggression attacks, Mars. This can be men in general acting like a little off. This is rebellious. This is attacks. We talked the other day about, but like I did, told you, about the undersea cables and how those were being cut, right, in the Gulf of Yemen. Am I right about that? And the thing with the internet is that, we think of things as being like satellite connected to satellites, but really everything is running on cables underneath, uh, uh down, in the sea. So I do think that this is happening. I think that this is probably going to be an issue, and it's just the start of something, because what we're seeing now, or what we saw last week with Venus square to Uranus and now Mars square to Uranus, we have to pay attention to one, technology and internet, anything having to do with websites and digital communications, and financial, because it was Venus, now it's Mars. So it was like last week was a test. This week could be the real thing. We're talking about Mars in Aquarius. However, we're having the sun sextile to Uranus, which is causing these changes and sudden disruptions. It's linked to technology, it's linked to wires and cables. The sun is in Pisces, that's under the sea. And, Venus, financial, and Mars is it's war, it's military. Um, we just heard that the governor of New York is putting boots on the ground in the subway system. Subterranean networks, Mercury, travel and communications disrupted, or issues, all the issues that I just listed, accidents, attacks, narrow escapes, difficulties, fights, danger, imprisonment, restraints. So something's coming up. And I'm recording this on Friday, but I really do think that something could go down under the ground. Saturn being restricted and trapped under Pisces, or under the water, under the sea, flooding. I'm not saying that this is necessarily New York City, but all of these things in connection all add up to something going on. Flooding of things that are underground, tunnels, networks, Mars, Uranus, cables, cutting, Mars is cutting. Woo! What else can we pick out from that? Have I picked that bone enough for you? Oh, well, Mercury, Boris, Cece. Boris, Cece is right there at 29 degrees of Pisces. That is the collective lie that we're all believing. We all keep repeating, that is holding everything together, our belief system. It's a religious thing because Boris, Cece is the son of the religion in Kurt Vonnegut's novel. I think it's Cat's Cradle. I forgot. But so the sun is the solar deity, but Boris, Cece, let's just say that there are lies that we all agree upon. And not we all, but I guess we all collectively, but it is bringing the downfall. And at some point, we have to realize that we were kind of invested in a lie. I say we, but I mean, that could play out in many different ways. That could be political, that could be religious, that could be families, this whole dynamic in families where, the gaslighting, like, because someone said it, we have to believe it, right? Well, he said he didn't murder her, and I believe him. He wouldn't lie. Here's another thing I wanted to point out. Glad I thought about it now. One of my favorite asteroids, one of my pet asteroids is, let me see if I have it listed on here or if I have to go find it somewhere else. It's not on this particular page. I have 3 different browsers open up with like 20 pages, 20 tabs each. So hang on while I go figure out which one it is. I think it's this one. Talk about ADD. I definitely have ADD. I don't have the ADHD. The I have the ADD without the hyperactive element because it's like I've got so many things. I just was thinking about this yesterday. How like, God, I could be so much more successful if I didn't have so many different things that I like, that I'm passionate about, or if I could just hone it down to one thing and just do one thing and do it really good. But yeah, I'm going to work on my follow through this year. Okay, one of my asteroids that I'm really happy about on February 23rd, Ascalaphus went direct after being retrograde for many, many months. And Ascalaphus is at 26 degrees of Gemini. So Ascalaphus is my whistleblower asteroid. Ascalaphus is the snitch. It's the one who brings up things that people would rather not talk about. Now, why is this important? Well, going direct means that while it was retrograde, it was sort of the whistleblower energy, let's just call it, was maybe going through a review, going over the past. Maybe they were checking the stories, seeing who who checked out and who didn't. Also going underground, like gathering more information before they come back out again. And as soon as Ascalaphus went direct, I think that's when we had a few more people come up with information in the Fannie Willis, what you talking about, Willis and Wade uh, inquiry into their shady dealings. So that said to me, okay, we're on again. Ascalaphus is on the move. Moves pretty slow, so it's going to be hovering around this degree, 26, 27. But the really cool and interesting fact is that what I just talked about with Mercury and Neptune, Mercury and Neptune at 27 Pisces is making a square, a 90-degree angle, a hard angle to Ascalaphus. So that says to me that whatever's going on with this Neptune, Mercury, fog, haze, illusion, lies, delusion, stuff is that um, we're going to get more information, that somebody's going to come forward and tell us what is going on behind the scenes, because it's like Mercury is there with Neptune gathering the intel, the things that are happening behind the scenes that we can't see, and then Ascalaphus gets to come out with it. And I believe that this will happen with this new moon, because Mercury then is going to go into Aries, and Mercury in Aries cannot keep its mouth shut. So a Mercury in Aries is going to square asteroid Chaos and Estrella early next week. Watch for it. There's something happening over this weekend that's just nuts. And Monday morning, it's just going to be a shitstorm. And, or, it's just going to be chaotic. And Mercury square chaos is after the Asclepius is just, we're hearing information, somebody's hearing information that they would rather somebody shut up about. Asbolus here is still retrograde. It's at 28 degrees. So Mercury, Neptune, at the degree that I told you around Shiat, which is known for um, Neptune at that degree, is known for psychic impressions. So there's going to be, even if there is not a direct revelation within the collective consciousness, people are going to be having dreams. People are going to have psychic, intuition about stuff. Information is going to come to people by divine means, however that lays out. They will suddenly be in possession of information and they bring it forward as a whistleblower in some capacity. With this square to Asclepius, and it causes chaos. But with chaos, after that comes the asteroid Estrella, and Estrella is justice. After that comes Photographica. I think over the course of the week, photographic evidence, text messages, maybe. Let's look for logos. Logos. Logos is words. That's at 12 degrees. DNA. Okay, Mercury is going to oppose DNA. That will be a factor with somebody in some situation. And so it'll be an interesting week. I just think that yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Okay, I think I said everything that I wanted to say. Mercury, Neptune will make a trine to Memoria. 28 Cancer, retrograde. So, I mean, that could even be like remembering something from the past and you didn't think it had significance. Or even with Reiki there, that's like sending energy to your future self or somebody in the future. And then suddenly, like you have this memory of something, and it's like, wait, I didn't see it like that before. Now I get it. Or another puzzle piece comes in and it didn't mean anything before, but now it does. Okay. I think I'm done for the day. I think I've squeezed that lemon as much as I can. So that wraps it up for today, March 8th. Clocks go back this weekend. Super duper happy. Feeling the springage. There's spring in my step. Anywho, thank you if you have stuck it out to the bitter end. And here we are. Hope you enjoyed it. I did. I'll be back more often now. I'm starting to come out of my hibernation stage. After this new moon and when the sun goes into Aries, Mercury goes into Aries, you'll hear more from me. Starting to get my groove. Stella's getting her groove back. Stella needs a haircut and a glycolic peel, facial. All right, you peoples. As always, I love you guys. If you're looking to book my time, you can buy me coffee. Go to Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link in the YouTube description box. Connect through my Gilded app. Join the group. Astro Lunatics Astro Fam. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Rumble, and obviously YouTube. You can email me to inquire about readings if you like, astrolunachick@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on the Astro Lunachick hotline at 914-222-1231. Leave a message after the beep, or you can text me and let me know what kind of things you want to discuss astrologically speaking. I've been selling a lot of coffee lately. I mean, I've been being gifted a lot of coffee lately, and I really like doing those readings. They're cool, they're on the spot. I do them by text. So just keep that in mind. And I take all forms of payment, including Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, and crypto. I'm a crypto bitch. So I I could definitely you could definitely pay me in crypto. No one's done that yet. This is awesome. I think this is the year that I get paid in crypto. I also think this is the year that I get my Mt. Gox bankruptcy Bitcoin back. So, yeah, if you're interested in contributing to the new digital currency paradigm and paying me in crypto, I am so down for it. Anyway, let me know all the ways that I told you can get a hold of me. You can send me messages, text, whatever. Keep in mind, I accept Bitcoin and all other forms of crypto, except for those shit coins, all those pump and dump scams, stuff like that. Don't bother me with that stuff. Anywho, that's enough fecal matters for today. All right, you guys, stay cool and ciao for now.